Hey, I just wanted to give my very quick thoughts about yesterday's UAP hearing. Yeah, we had 5 witnesses, as you see up on the top there. I'm not even going to try to remember all of their names, although the guy second to the right, I forgot his first name, but I keep thinking Al Borland from Home Improvement because his last name is Borland. But I do know about the first man on the left, Jeffrey Nusatelli, if I'm pronouncing it right. And of course, George Knapp in the middle. The guy second to the left and the guy on the far right are the ones I'm least familiar with, although the guy second to the left, George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, talked about him some months ago, and that's when they showed some UAP footage. Now, I know I sound kind of like a broken record, but I do think that this is a thing that Christians really should be paying attention to. I know I'm going right. I'm just like bypassing my thoughts on the hearing and going right into that part. Maybe I'll say that part for last. But my thoughts on the hearing, I thought it was excellent. I thought it was pretty epic. Maybe not like a bombshell type of deal like when you had the 2023 hearing, where you had under oath somebody saying how we have alien bodies, basically, or biologics and non-human made craft, although that was kind of subtly mentioned here as well. But the purpose of the hearing, however, was, I think, mostly to get protections for whistleblowers. That was kind of like the main point, and that, in fact, that was even in the name of the hearing. There were some standout moments, lots of names being dropped from George Knapp, and just them talking, some of the witnesses talking about what they have experienced, just really bizarre things, large craft that really don't make any sense with any technology and things that we have. I'm not saying 100% that it isn't anything that we have, but it sure doesn't really sound like it. But it's a lot of stuff to piece together as Christians. What do we do with these things? I'll get to that again towards the end, but one of the things that people are talking mostly about is the never before seen footage of, it looks like an orb UAP getting shot at by a missile, and it kind of deflects it. Maybe some pieces are being broken off the UAP, maybe it's from the missile, not really totally sure, but still, the way that we see in the video, it's very odd. It almost seems like that the broken pieces, maybe they're even like just little smaller drones from this UAP, because it doesn't like it seems to be trailing with the object still. So I don't know, is it just that we're looking at it from too high up and you just can't see that it's falling into the water? I'm not really sure. So I'm sure a lot of people will be trying to look at that image 1,000 different ways, looking at every little detail. I'm sure, of course, that the debunkers out there will try to, debunk it. But I did learn from an interview, we didn't know about this in the hearing, but it was a dead drop to Eric Burleson, meaning that somebody just dropped it off, no name, supposedly. Kind of wonder about that. Somebody just gave him that footage. Now, they must have told the person somehow that, hey, this footage was off of Yemen, November 30th, because it doesn't have that information in the video. So it's not like it was just the video. There had to be more information attached to it. However, it was dropped off to him. Was it like a USB thing? Was it, an email? What? That, we don't really know. At least I haven't heard anything yet. So that, that was kind of a bombshell moment, I guess, for a lot of people. That's what a lot of the major news outlets are covering, which I'm surprised they're actually covering it, somewhat. But that kind of leads me to the thing that really bothers me, and again, a broken record. So I mentioned this many times during the hearing. I was posting like a couple of short clips of it, like doing a screen grab video of it, just really short things I thought were really interesting. I don't want to do it all day because I could have, especially when I'm trying to work. But yeah, I listened to the whole thing, and I listened to it a second time, maybe about halfway through, and then just saw different clips and stuff from other podcasts or news stories or whatever. Lots of great stuff out there, lots of good reporting. I really like the opening statement from Luna, and I wish Glenn Groffman was there. His name was mentioned, and I made a post about that too, because he is my representative, and he was heavily involved in the subject in years past. I don't know why he wasn't there. I think he had another hearing later in the day. He had something totally different to do with like health and diet and stuff like that. So something definitely right up my alley. I just saw a little blurb of it somewhere online. I don't remember exactly, but they mentioned his name. I think basically to signify that he was waiving his involvement in it. Maybe because he had other stuff to do or whatever, but yeah, I meant to reach out to him and encourage him about this subject and even get his thoughts too, because he's a fellow believer. But anyway, yeah, speaking about the coverage, now I posted about it several times. I posted one main video of something I thought was really important that George Knapp was saying. I think it was about Lockheed Martin and what's one of those billionaire guy names? I can't remember. Oh man, it's lost on me right now. But anyway, yeah, and it said on Facebook that, it's been viewed 6 times. That was the last time I looked at it, which is like yesterday. I think even still during the hearing or shortly after. So 6 people viewed it. I thought it was incredible information, and I even talked about how that, this is the hearing that's going on. I posted lots of other things too. Even this morning, I posted, hey, what do you guys think about that hearing? Anybody catch it? The hearing from yesterday. And just a couple of super quick thoughts. And as of right now, not a single person commented on any of those things. Not a single person reacted. Like nothing. Like absolutely, positively nothing. And these are my Christian, brothers and sisters that I shared it with. And there's just nothing there. No interest whatsoever. Now, the first witness that you see on the left there, Jeffrey Nusatelli, I think his name is, I listened to him before on one of the podcasts I listened to, the Unidentified Alien Podcast with Steve Diener. It's one of my favorites. I just love the guy. The way he presents information and his demeanor and everything. It's one of my favorites for sure. He was at the hearing, by the way. And I should mention too that there's a couple other people like in the background standing next to or sitting next to Jeremy Corbell, which is kind of behind George Knapp. Matthew Brown was there, the whistleblower from the Pentagon. And then I was told, because I wasn't really watching it per se, I was just mostly listening to it, but David Grush was also in attendance, like in the background, sitting with the congressman, I believe. I think somebody said that. But anyway, the guy on the left, Jeffrey, now he was on the Unidentified Alien Podcast way back in maybe February or so. It's a 2-part episode, and then he was back again to speak about some stuff, mostly just about his involvement, like why he's there, and then also, and we didn't know this until like last week that he was actually going to be taking the stand, which is pretty cool, and I recognize that name. But so he talked about what he has seen, what he has gone through during those 2 first episodes, and then came back I think in March to talk about his involvement in the film that we have yet to see, which is what's the name of it? Something Disclosure. Man, why I just can't think this morning. I didn't have my caffeine yet. But supposedly that movie, with Something Disclosure, is being viewed by the Senate actually on the 8th, I was told, by Danny Sheehan. He said that there's a preview of that movie on the 8th, and then Congress is going to have a chance to see it this next week, I believe, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I can't wait to hear more information about that. But there is this push to get people on board to vote, it sounds like, for a couple different things, but one of them, like the main thing, is Tim Burchett's bill that he was producing there about whistleblower protections. And then the UAPDA is also another thing that they want to pass. So those 2 things are critical. And that's like the main point of this hearing, I believe. But anyway, back to what I was saying, the guy on the left, he doesn't talk about it during the hearing. He does talk about how it changed his life and everything, but he talks a lot about the spiritual side of things in that podcast that I had mentioned, Unidentified Alien Podcast, back in like February. And that's why, that just shines light on like why this is such an important topic that Christians really need to start talking about. I can't stop repeating myself on that. we believe some pretty wild and wacky things, according to the world anyway. When you look at the Bible, all these weird things happening, supernatural things, and then we look at our own world and we just forget that the world is more than just stuff. That it is entirely possible that this could be spiritual. In fact, it's most definitely, at least part of it. Some of it could be tech that we had produced, whether it's from reverse engineering or not. Maybe there is some other classification of beings out there that we just don't know about in God's creation. Maybe we got to have that discussion. But there's definitely, for absolute sure, a spiritual element to at least some of this stuff. And it behooves me that we're not talking about it as Christians. Like, why is this not flooding everyone news feeds right now who are believers? I mean, maybe some, maybe fringe, if you want to call it that, or what could be perceived as fringe Facebook pages or whatever, maybe they're talking about it. People who are obsessed with end times, like, oh, they're going to use aliens as an excuse for the rapture. I don't buy that personally, but that's the only time Christians ever do talk about it is when they want to associate it with end times. And it's kind of annoying. I mean, I don't mind if you do make that association necessarily, but it's, still talk about the issue at hand, not just and only just end times. So that's my quick thoughts on it. But yeah, it was a great hearing. I hope we get another one this year, and I hope that they're able to pass this thing for whistleblower protection right now. I'm not sure how that all works out, but I hope it's passed and put into effect right away. But it sounds like that there's a 7-year window. Mr. Borland, Al Borland, or whatever his first name was, he talked about how he wished that window was shrunk. And I heard somebody else talking about it. I don't remember who, but saying how they should have it only a year-long window this is for people wanting to come forward and not getting in trouble. But having it 1 year long, or definitely shorter than 7 years, would be that so there is a rush to it. So it's not just people putting it off if they know they have 7 years, and then they can be convinced not to testify or come forward anyway. There's just all kinds of good reasons for it. I can't remember where I heard that from, but it was in the last several days when somebody had said that. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. It's very interesting, and I honestly can't wait to see what happens next. I know Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp had filmed with other whistleblowers. I'm assuming it's none of these guys, but people they said who have not come forward yet, and it sounded like that they're going to release those interviews if these guys would not show up at this hearing. So, I don't know if one of them was maybe the Borland guy or not. Now, the Borland guy, his story is really interesting, and it's really unfortunate what had happened to him. And you could hear it in his opening testimony. He sounded like he was trying not to be emotional. So, yeah, I highly recommend checking out this hearing if you have not seen it, or at least watch a clipped version of it on YouTube. There's been several of them clipping out some of the key moments, or just watch the beginning part, the opening statements from Luna. There was some other congresswoman who had an opening thing. It did get political too, I think, from her later on. She was trying to be all anti-Trump, which it's fine if what she's saying is true. I'm not saying just because she's a Democrat means that everything she says is false. I mean, there are certainly some things that I agree with that would come across as anti-Trump, especially the drone situation. But yeah, listen to the opening statements, and just that in and of itself was pretty good. They had to cut George Knapp off, and then they showed a video, not the video that they're talking about, up on the screen here. But yeah, it was kind of weird how they did that. But I guess he did go kind of long, and he had pages of stuff. Cause he can go online and look up their opening statements, their full testimony. That they would have read at the beginning. Some of them, I don't know if they each or any of them read their whole entire statement, but at least parts of it. But yeah, George Knapp definitely had a very, very long one. Some interesting stuff was said. So anyway, I gotta go. But yeah, tell me what you guys thought about this hearing.